Hi, this is Jennifer from SingtoKids, and I wanted to share with you today some tips and tricks to make your life easier when assigning assignments in Google Classroom. So if you're a music teacher like me, you can see that you have multiple classrooms that you manage and assign assignments to, and I'm going to share with you a couple things to make your life easier. I'm going to go into an example of a third grade classroom. I'm not taking you into a real Google Classroom because I do have students assigned in there and I want to protect their privacy. So this is just an example of my third grade class. You can see on the side I have topics, digital classroom, learning assignments, folk songs, instrument exploration, and song tales. This is just a great way for me to organize materials so students know where to access things, because otherwise it just kind of ends up being this long stream of information and it's hard for little ones to manage all of that. And you can create topics right here under the create button, clicking on the topic, and just add a topic that you want that you might use to organize information for your Google Classroom. So what I want to share with you today is how to assign an assignment or a game so that every student in your classroom gets their own copy. So I'm going to go up here to create, and I'm choosing assignment. And this particular game is one that I've created for my students, and it's in my TPT store. I'll show you in just a minute. But we're going to do a review of tempo. And so this game is going to give students the opportunity to review some terminology around tempo, specifically allegro and adagio, just fast and slow, identifying that. So let's just say, please play this game to review tempo terminology. Sorry, I haven't had all my coffee yet. Okay, so now I'm going to click add because I want to add this game from my Google Drive. And I'm going into my drive right now and scrolling down, and here you can see this is my game that I have here called Exploring Tempo. I actually have two versions. This is the one that uses the correct terminology. This is the one I use to introduce it to younger students where they're just using the words fast and slow. So I'm going to click on that and then click Insert. And then here's tip number one. This is so important. If I want students to just view it, I can leave this as is, but I don't want them just to be able to look at it. I want them to be able to interact with it, and I want every student to have their own copy. So I'm going to click on that tab, and you'll see students can edit file. That is not what I want. I can make a copy for each student. So I'm going to click on that. And in doing so, when this gets assigned, every student is going to have their own personal copy of this particular slide deck that they can interact and play with, and they can turn it into me once they finish the work so that I can see what their understanding of the terminology allegro and adagio. Now, here's another tip for you. If you have more than one class at a particular grade level, which, let's be honest, who doesn't? If I go up here to the word for, you see where this is? And I click, I can then assign this to every third grade class that I teach, so that I only have to assign it one time. I don't have to assign it 3 or 4 times, depending on how many sections of each grade level or classes you have in each grade level. So I can assign them all at the same time. The tip for this is that you want to make sure that you have the same topics from class to class to class, so that all the students are getting assigned and it's being put in the same topic right there. You can also put a due date if you choose. I like to add a due date just as a soft target for students to go, oh, I do have some music work due today, but I want you to know I use the word soft target because I accept any work when it comes in. I realize that not every family has the same opportunities and availability to learn. Some of my kids are doing the work during the school day as I'm teaching. Some of my students are doing the work once mom and dad gets home and they finish dinner, and they're doing work in the evening. Some of my families are doing the work on the weekends when they just have the free time to get it done. So I use my due date as a soft target, but I let parents know and families know that I accept work whenever they're able to complete it, because the reality is, as a working parent, I understand that having some flexibility is really helpful. So if you want to assign a due date, you can do so there. If you want to assign points or just make it ungraded, you can choose to do that there. And then the other function I want you to know about, and I don't have students assigned in this example course, but let's say I was giving some work, maybe I'm doing recorder with my kids and I have a group of kids that are really flying through the book. So I want to give them some special work just to slow their pace but challenge them. I could go in and just select a group of students that I want to give that work to, or maybe I have a group of students that are really struggling with recorder and I need to give them some different things to do to reinforce their skills, give them some repeated practice. So you can actually go in and choose which students are going to receive which work right there in that tab. But because I don't have students assigned to it, you're not going to see that there. Once I have everything the way I want it to look, I've made sure I've assigned it to all the classes I want, and I've put a due date, I've put the topic that I want. I'm going to click assign. Now, the thing I want you to know, when I click assign, it's going to take a little while because it has to populate this assignment to every student assigned in every class. And I do have students in those other classes, so it's going to take a minute. While that's going on, I want to show you, if you pop over to my TPT store, and you'll see over here the custom categories, Google Classroom for elementary music. This is where I have all kinds of music games for your students to use for Google Classroom. And if you keep scrolling, eventually you'll find those tempo and dynamic games in there that are available for your students to use. Here's the Exploring Dynamics game right there. This is a drumming where they can create rhythms. If you love Write the Room activities like I do, here's a Write the Room activity for your student. And if you're looking for some repertoire for your students to teach songs, even though we're social distancing, even though we're not singing in classrooms because we don't want to worry about aerosol droplets, you can click on this elementary repertoire. And here's the thing, all of the songs that are listed in here, whoops, that is not my elementary repertoire. Hold on, my friends. La, la, la. Let's do distance learning. Sorry about that. In the distance learning, all of these folk songs that are listed here have Google Classroom options. There are options for their PDFs. There's PowerPoint. They have JPEGs of every slide so that if you're using Nearpod or Pear Deck, you can import those. And I include a video of me teaching the song and me singing the song so that if you want to teach singing without having students sing, you can provide those resources to your students and put them into your Google Classroom or any other thing that you use in teaching students. And if you are on the fence about what you should be doing in terms of singing classrooms, I'm just going to pop over to my blog, and you can see here I'm SingtoKids.com. Singing the Age of Coronavirus. I have a whole blog post just talking about precautions and ways that you can teach singing without physically singing in front of your students, because their safety is first and foremost in everything that we do. So I'm going to go back into our Google Classroom, and you'll see right here distance learning assignments, because that's the topic I put it in, review of tempo. I click on that. I'm going to open it up. And the reality is, when I open it up, every student has their own set of slides that they can click on. You can see here are the directions for my students. Here is a definition of tempo, so just a reminder of what these two words mean. And then what happens is that students can move these words around. Now, I had already played with this one, so I hadn't reset back to where it was, but this is what you would see. The words were on top, and the students just click and drag them down to what they think the two people are doing. So do they think a hummingbird moves allegro or adagio? Do they think a hedgehog moves allegro or adagio? And they're just going to click and move them around the screen, and then they can turn the assignment in and I can see how they're processing the terminology. I hope this was helpful for you. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, because my goal, as always, is to help you work smarter, not harder. And please check out my blog. I will be sharing things that I'm experiencing and doing, and everything I write about in my blog comes from my personal experience of 25 years of elementary teaching, and I just love to share what I do and how I do things with students. So please check that out. And all of these resources that I shared with you today are all available in my TPT store. And you can find, again, distance learning and Google Classroom products in there for your use and for your students' use for this coming school year. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.